I'm talking to two folks from Leaders of Kenosha. And is it okay if I call it Loke? Is that something that's commonly used? Yeah,
Lock,
Loke.
lock.
Lock. Okay. So just for some context, Locke was formed in the context in the wake of the police shooting of Jacob Blake in 2020. And Locke is a conduit for social, transformative, and restorative justice. Locke, among other things, works to ensure equitable access to resources and opportunities in Kenosha and throughout Wisconsin. And they do this by empowering underrepresented and underserved communities by providing resources, education, and civic engagement through a network of individuals dedicated to the creation of justice, equality, and unity in the community. So I'm talking with Tanya,
Yes.
who is the executive director and founder of Leaders of Kenosha, and Erica, who's the director of community engagement and operations. So I kind of want to start at the beginning of Leaders of Kenosha. Could you talk a little bit about the idea behind forming Leaders of Kenosha, and why was it important given the context of where Kenosha was in August of 2020?
Well, when the unfortunate shooting of Jacob Blake happened, um, you know, thousands of people were here and convened here in Kenosha, and there was no one organization um, that was ready to handle what was going on in our town. We also quickly met the Blake family, and we were asked to do the organizing for their family. So we came together to form this organization because there was a need. There was a gap that needed to be filled. Um, this community really had no one speaking for them, like from an organizational standpoint, but yet, you know, hundreds of people and news outlets and stuff were here. So we were able to help facilitate that with the family. And then, we were also able to hold events and protest and rally in a safe manner because people had a right to be upset and angry and do what and cry out. And we just wanted to make sure that um, they were as safe as possible in doing so. And I think we did a pretty good job.
That's interesting because I don't know if many people see it that way. Of it sounds like there was this need to reclaim the narrative in that summer, because I'm not sure how many people knew Kenosha existed to begin with. I mean, at least people in the area, I mean, in southeastern Wisconsin are aware, but nationwide, I'm not sure that many people were aware about Kenosha. So it sounds like that was part of it, right? Like reclaiming the narrative that you are all from Kenosha and are organizing in Kenosha, and making sure that the information is accurate and put into context, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And just obviously, we are continuing with the current elections. We're continuing to see the narrative being pushed that Kenosha, after Jacob Blake was shot by the police, that it was just like fire and brimstone, and no one was safe, and it was horrible, and yeah, there were a lot of people rightfully upset, and a lot of people coming into our community from across other communities. Some expressing their, upset with the situation in more peaceful ways, and some ways that were kind of rocking things a little bit. And unfortunately, parts of our community, did see businesses get burnt down and things like that. But activists from Kenosha, like Tanya here, being one of the biggest leaders of this, were out there trying to keep people safe, trying to prevent businesses from getting burnt down, and also leading from and the Russian Chesky be charged for shooting Jacob Blake. So we had both that, convening so many different incredible people from around the community were convening to board up businesses, to make sure people were fed and housed and okay and safe. but also out there marching for miles and hosting demonstrations and events and block parties to say, hey, we're here, we care about the city, and this type of conduct by our police department is not acceptable.
And I also like to throw, because like Erica said, Kenosha was painted this narrative like we just imploded and we were running around burning down our own stuff, our own things. But we know that the city administration knows, the federal government knows that the people that did that type of behavior were not from this community. They were outsiders that came in for whatever reason or who they were sent by to do those things. So every time I get a chance to say that and push back on that narrative of what you see right now being spread about Kenosha, that's not true.
I think the uprising, specifically, I think in the wake of the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, was traumatizing for a lot of people in that community. What does building strong relationships in the community look like for Locke, given that context?
Well, for one, I think it starts with trust. Um, that that the Kenosha community trusts Locke with their issues, with the things that matter to them personally, to their families, for their children, that we're an organization that you can call on when things are happening and you're like, I don't know about this. I see this happening um, at the school board or city council or whatever avenue you see things that you feel are unjust or just things that are happening to our people that need to be addressed and spoken on. Um, we feel that's a big thing and a big part of what Lock does. And in turn, building those relationships with the community, building relationships with the chief of police and the city administration, and just being at the table to be a part of the conversations that's being held in this town with regards to rebuilding and what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a question of trust and identity for our community after everything that happened, and a fragmentation. Like so much discrimination and hatred was brought to light, and bias in general after that happened. That I think a lot of people would have liked to, a lot of people in power would have liked to keep underneath. So I think that after Jacob Blake was shot by Rustin Shesky, it couldn't, be hidden anymore, and it suddenly became a really like powerful message of no, people aren't being treated equally here. People are not being treated equitably by race and by a number of other factors, and it's kind of. I think a lot of people, in a lot of ways, have turned inward. There's so many incredible organizations that have that we work alongside of that have people's backs. And I think a lot of people have kind of turned away from some of those institutions and wanted to participate, rightfully so. People don't want to be involved with elections or get involved with the police department or anything like that because they've been burned, they've been exploited so many times. But for us, civic engagement is such a huge part of our work because we know that this isn't a situation where you can take your ball and go home. Like the game continues without you. And we've seen things, we've seen a little bit of progress, like one step forward, two steps back, right? Two steps forward, one step back. And for us, it's so important to kind of build community and build this value of continuing to participate and continuing to grab power in a lot of different ways, even in the face of so much adversity for forever.
And I think too, because we've had the gap in Black leadership in this community for so long, I think it's I personally feel it's good for our young Black and brown people to see people out there um, petitioning for the things that they desire to see and the change. and I look like them. So I think it's really important. Just like we talk about with education, with our Black and brown students, we need teachers that look like our students. That goes for every facet. So in this movement, it's important that our young people don't only see our allies, but they see people that look like them, that are fighting for the same thing, and they feel like someone's got their back.
I heard you say something about rebuilding, Tanya, which I think is an important point to make, given, at the end of I guess the intense demonstrations that happened in Kenosha, people went back to Milwaukee, went back to Chicago, went back to wherever they came from to show support, and the people in the community really had to deal with what was there and all the damage that was done. So in rebuilding, I wanted to make a point that you have a 10-point program laid out on your website. And I encourage people to check out the comprehensive list, but I want to point out one point is about reparations. So you call on reparations for Black Americans, some sort of monetary compensation at the federal level, and also some restoration of land, property, and funding at the local level. So why is naming reparations important, especially in the context of the type of justice that Locke is I guess, aiming for?
Well, for one, we're always hearing about the wealth gap, the education gap. I mean, but okay, so let me back up. One thing that I strive for personally on a daily basis is like, let's just live in truth and facts and what's really going on. So with that, Black and brown people were brought to this country not by choice and stripped of everything. So we're going to have to start with the economic factor of things. Um, you need to level the playing field there. I mean, we know that money doesn't solve everyone's issues, but when people are worrying about their housing or how they will accumulate wealth without working 3 or 4 jobs, and then that in turn means you don't get to see your children, which in turn means, they may not be getting what they need from you as a parent, not because you don't want to give it, but because you're out working and clawing and scratching and trying to just meet the bare minimum. So with reparations, and we've seen around the country, like we in Evanston, there's reparations in Evanston. So that is what is needed to just even begin to get on the playing field to try to level out these different things. I mean, people want to act as if money is not important, or like if it wasn't that important, or if it wasn't that big of a deal, then why is reparations such a hot topic, and why is it so frowned upon in certain communities when that comes up? I mean, it's important because that's what's needed, and that's just the bottom line. And to close all this wealth gap, this education gap, just the social economic justice piece of things, that's what's needed, and that's what should be given. I mean, things were taken and stolen from people, and they should be rightfully given and returned.
Just give me 1 second to switch
Okay,
phones.
so let me back up. One thing.
Rafa, do you mind if we rejoin on the new phone real quick?
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you.
And we're back.
Sorry, we're back.
No, it's okay. I didn't mean to cut you off or anything.
I have a time limit on my Instagram app that I don't have the password to try to cure my social media addiction, which is bad when I need it for work. This phone. But yeah, sorry to derail that really important topic. But as Tanya was saying, generational wealth is the largest contributor to wealth. I mean, we've seen that statistically. At the federal level, we've tracked, people who are born wealthy stay wealthy generally, and when hundreds of years of wealth were robbed from Black and brown people in this country, it's important to restore that if we're gonna have any semblance of equality in this country.
I think the other project I wanted to talk about before we get into some election stuff is the earlier this year you launched the Kenosha Community Bail Fund, which I think is along the same lines. But could you kind of explain how the fund works and just touch on, I guess, the larger purpose too?
So we know that across this country, thousands and thousands of people are waiting in facilities um, to have their day in court, right? And it might be a simple fine of $50, $100 that's keeping a person in a pretrial facility. And now they've lost their home, they've lost their job, their children, their livelihood. And that's just insane. And it's because of lack of the socioeconomic justice in the means compared to white people. So it may be in the same situation. So in Wisconsin, there are no bail bondsmen and stuff like that. So, we work to bond people out of the Kenosha County pretrial facility, Black and brown people specifically, and so that they can get out, continue to do the things that need to be done, work, take care of their families, go to school, all of those things, so that, all right, they're already going through a stressful and unfortunate situation that does not need to be compounded by losing everything in their life. So they should have the right to fight for that, fight for their justice, fight for their livelihood, and fight for their freedom on the outside without losing everything. So that's why we launched the bail fund. Um, we don't we don't bond out violent offenders and stuff like that. That's not something that we do. I mean, of course, they deserve their day in court as well, but that's just something that we've chosen not to do. Um, so anything of a violent nature, we don't get involved with that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen there are a massive amount of ways that our quote unquote criminal justice system or legal system are set up to exploit people of color and benefit white people. We see how people of color are prosecuted more often and with higher sentences and more uh, treated more unfairly. So if this is a simple way in the grand scheme of our fight for reforms to our systems, to get people out and give them the chance to be able to work with their lawyer or work with their family, stay home, not lose all of their job or their housing. Like Tanya said, that's just one way we can kind of work to try to make things more fair as we continue to advocate for real reform, like eliminating cash bail, would ultimately be the goal. But for now, we will also want to show that while we're working to change laws, we're working to get new people elected that recognize and are for changing these systems. We as a community can still do things to increase that fairness. Even while we continue to strive for changes at the systems level, we can have a bail fund. And the way it works is that we have all the information on our website, and family members or friends can go ahead and put the information of their loved one who's in a pretrial facility and request to be bailed out. And provided that they, meet the criteria that we have there, we will go ahead and bail them out.
I want to pivot to the election. We have an important midterm elections here. They're here, right? Early voting has started.
Mhm.
Um, what are the priorities around civic engagement for Locke for these midterm elections?
It's important that we're in communities that typically do not have large turner vote out, do not engage in the process. It's important that we talk to them and just express to them the importance of casting their ballot and just have that real conversation with them, well, why, and talk about it and talk through it. And, oftentimes it's not, and I say this a lot to different people, it's not that I really feel like, I don't know if it's that people don't want to vote, right? But oftentimes, when you're working two or three jobs and you're getting off and going to one, and then you have kids and just all this stuff going on, school, you know, it's like, just like you often don't take care of yourself when you know you need to. Well, you should go vote, but like, oh man, I only have 5, 10 minutes and I need just to sit for 5 or 10 minutes. So just having that mindset because you have so much on your plate, but just talking to people and letting them know, hey, the reason why you need to vote is because we need to put people in office who care that you work 3 or 4 jobs, or that there's even a need to do that because things are just so incredibly unfair and inequitable. So we have those conversations. We talk to people, who were formerly incarcerated and were discharged off probation and parole, who now can have their rights reinstated and now cast their ballot. So um, people, you'd be surprised what people don't know. And, like in schools, I mean, this isn't something that's, heavily talked about in schools like it was probably like when I was there. Like, that's kind of phased out. So it's important that we talk to our young people about this because they want to be a part of this process. And sometimes, because maybe it's not really talked about within their home or something that they have been used to seeing, they really don't know about the process. So it's always an honor to be able to educate someone and talk to them or see them cast their ballot for the first time. It's amazing.
I see a lot of your events are certainly not limited to, but focused in Uptown.
Yes.
For the people that don't know and aren't from Kenosha, why is that specific area of Kenosha important to be out, engaging, educating, and inviting people into the process? Why is Uptown important for your work?
So Uptown is District 3, and I actually live in we're in District 3 right now. I live only a couple blocks from the burnings and stuff. I love this community, but it's also the largest concentration of Black and Brown people in this city, and the most unengaged. We're often left out of everything. You do hear a lot of chatter now about Uptown because of the gentrification that's going to be happening here and that's starting. So, they have, these grand plans about what Uptown's going to look like, and it will probably look very different here in a couple of years. So, but until all of that happens, it's our daily commitment to make sure that the needs of people in this community are looked after and to let them know that it matters. The homelessness, all the most violent crimes are happening here. The shootings are happening right here in Uptown. The homelessness, the overdoses and things like that. The population of people who are oftentimes forgotten. So we want them to know that it's important, and the people that we put in office need to know that these issues are here and that these people are in this community. They're your constituents and they have a right to know what's going on and to be a part of the process and to have a voice.
I will, before I want to open it up to you to like say anything else that you want to say about Locke or your work, but before we kind of get to that last question, I'm curious, what's, if you had to like sum it up in these 2 years that Leaders of Kenosha has existed, and what are you most proud of in the work in these last couple years? Like what really gets you excited to organizing work? I think it takes a lot of time and effort, and it's very emotionally draining. And so what gets you motivated, outside of, especially during those tough days where, maybe you talk to a bunch of people and nobody seems to really hear you or understand what's happening. So I guess what's been the most motivating thing to come out of the work in these past couple of years?
Yeah, I think that number one, the bail fund, being able to launch the bail fund, is something that I'm very proud of for us and our organization. There might be political setbacks happening across the country, but as I said, even when the results of some of our campaigns, like getting Rustin Chesky, charged. Obviously, sometimes things haven't gone the way we wanted, but we know that we have the power as an organization, as a community, to still make change, even as those fights take a little bit longer. And we've seen real effect. We've seen people get bailed out, from our fund since we launched a few months ago. So that's really, really exciting and makes me feel like even that alone is all worth it. And second, just the kind of community that we've been a part of and helped build. All of the incredible organizations and people and organizers that are all, leaders of Kenosha. That's the purpose of the name, is that anyone in Kenosha can and should be a leader and should have equitable power to be a leader in our community. And that's not always the way it is right now. So that's what we're working for. So for me, thinking, back a few days after, Jacob Blake was shot, and we had the then president coming to inflame more issues in Kenosha, being able to have a block party right on that block where the shooting happened and bring the community together and talk to people about what their needs are and connect people to resources. And being able to, march all the way from Kenosha to Milwaukee and advocate for voting. All the people that were right there marching with us, and all of the people that are connected with and in the same struggle and joint struggles, knowing that we have each other's backs and that we have built somewhat of a platform for people to get involved and for us to kind of build this sort of chain of kind of resistance against all of the oppression that exists, and have the power to push forward, and a real belief that through all of our work and under Tanya's leadership and all the incredible things that, I've witnessed, Tanya be able to do, and our organization as a whole, and with all of the other organizations that we work with, we can see change happening. We can see, even when things seem bleak and things lost, uh, are being passed that we don't agree with, or rulings are overturned, things like that. We know that we have each other, and we know there's a strong group of people working. So, like you said, it can be really emotionally draining to do this work, but by having this organization and having these people together, we can really feel that it's worth it and that we are going to continue. We have made positive changes, and we are going to continue to make positive changes. And I'm really proud of that, and proud to be a part of this community.
And for me, I'd want to start first by saying that I'm so grateful for my tribe, and my tribe knows who they are. It's an incredible group of young people that I'm surrounded by, and just their energy, their light, their truth, their transparency makes it very bearable sometimes when I feel like very heavy and it's unbearable. But, you know, just their commitment to this fight and to this change and to this daily lifestyle, because that's what it is. This is something that I don't think we ever really stop. We're constantly in this mode. And I'm just grateful for having the wonderful, supportive, incredible young people that I have around me, um, and their thoughts and their ideas. And then, you know, and another reason why I do it, like I don't have a choice but to do it. I'm a Black woman. This is the skin I live in constantly, and I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'm an auntie, all of these things. And it matters to me that our young people are able to thrive in any way they see fit without worrying about driving a car because of the color of their skin, or walking into a store and being followed because of the color of your skin, or just all the inequities that happen on a daily basis because you simply walk in a skin, in a color of a skin that might not look like another person's, and you're judged by that. I don't get to turn that. So it's just I feel it's my duty, as a Black woman, to continue this fight in any capacity that I can. Um, and real change requires struggle, it requires tears. We've had a lot of really tough days these last 2 years. Um, but it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change. I mean, I really, of course, I hate what happened to Jacob, but in terms of Locke and our partnership with the community and with each other, I wouldn't change that for anyone.
Is there the last question is just open it up to both of you or one of you to just is there anything else that you would want people to know about your work or luck?
Yes, if you'd like to donate to our bail fund, please go onto our webpage, leadersofkenosha.org, or to any of the other things that we do. You can contribute right there directly on the page. Um, I'd like people to know that things are going on that concern you, issues. We're always here. Please just reach out to us. Everyone's very quick about answering back messages. Like they're great about that. Um, you know, I just want people to know that we're here and we're fighting. We're not constantly marching around town and through the state anymore, but that doesn't mean that things are not happening, because they most certainly are. And I just want people to know that every single day it's our commitment to fight for you and for the things that matter in this community, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, if you want to get involved, check out our website, leadersofkenosha.org. You can follow Facebook, Leaders of Kenosha, or Instagram, which is just Leaders Kenosha, and you'll see all of our events.
Twitter.
Twitter, yeah, we're on Twitter as well, Leaders Kenosha as well on Twitter. I don't think we're on TikTok yet, but we'll see. If we practice some dance moves, we might get there.
Right.
But but yeah, follow us, join us, come to our events. We have some more boat events coming up tomorrow night. Tabling, just let people know. Like you said, it's early voting is open, so we're trying to get people out here. We're looking for volunteers, all the time. And definitely shout out to Ariel Crowder, our Director of
Yes.
Communications, who has been so crucial to all this work, to
Yes.
getting all of these multiple events every week, going advertised and on the calendar. And shout out to Olivia Crudup as well, who's been
Yes.
an integral part of the team, especially from the beginning. She coined the name Leaders of Kenosha and the meaning behind that. So
Yes.
shout out to the two ladies who aren't with us today, but you'll see them around.
Yeah.
And
She's getting ready for an event right now. So
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
I'll be joining her in a few. So yeah, there's a lot of good people that we have the privilege and honor of working with. Um, and it's been amazing. Um, but again, like I said, I wouldn't change a thing. I love my people. My people matter. I'm committed to this. Yeah, this is our life's work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important to do everything you can to make a change, whether you're an ally, whether you're living, the reality of these oppressions that we're fighting. We have, like I said, community-based work, elections-based work. It's important to have multiple, avenues to push for change. So we just encourage people. We know a lot of people are feeling really discouraged right now and don't want to participate in our political process or don't want to get out. All the time, but please, do what you can to get up and get out there because it really does matter. We would not be doing everything we are doing if it didn't, and we just want to see our community continue to get the support and get the reforms that it needs to really be a place where everybody has an equitable opportunity to thrive. So really, whether it's with us, we hope it's with us, volunteer, donate, get involved, or with another organization of your choice. Just get out there, vote, get your friends to vote, volunteer at an event that helps the community, donate to a bail fund or another community-based fund, and just we need each other. We've seen that. Like Tanya said, we wouldn't. I am endlessly grateful for all the people that I've met through this work and through all the sacrifices that everyone has made to be able to do this work. So I encourage everyone, to get involved as well.
And I'd like to shout out UWM. I'm a two-time alum there, so graduate. So yeah, UWM, go Panthers.
Awesome.